Hello and welcome to this special update video for the new year for 2024. There's going to be a lot of changes this year, and some of this stuff has been in the planning for a really long time. So finally ready to spill the beans on some of it. So let's start off by talking about YouTube. So I've seen no less than about a dozen creators, some with channels even larger than mine, who are saying that their revenue is really down this year. And mine is no exception to that. In fact, I'll go ahead and tell you that my AdSense revenue is probably about 10 to 20% of what it was 3 years ago. It's that bad. In fact, if it weren't for Patreon, I'd already been out looking for a job. So that's how bad it is. But now I know a lot of people are going to point at one reason or other and say, why they think that my channel or anybody's channel is down. But really, I think it's there's more than one reason. In fact, I think that there's 4 specific reasons why I think my channel is down so much. And so I'm going to go through them. First of all, the pandemic's over. I think that doesn't require a lot of explanation. I mean, obviously there used to be a lot of people just stuck at home watching YouTube videos all day, and now they're out, working and going to bars and, all the fun stuff that people do. Not that I ever do any of that kind of stuff, but nevertheless, people aren't at home watching videos as much. So that's one thing. The other thing is what I would call YouTube saturation. So when I started my channel many, many years ago, there were only like 2 or 3 other channels that covered the same type of material that I do. And I was like the only channel that was doing like restorations and retro bride and stuff like that, a long time ago. But now there's like 100 channels doing that kind of thing. And, obviously I have to share views with all of those people. And I kind of think of the iPhone when it first came out, and there were people making these stupid apps like where, you would take your phone and you would go and you make like whipping noises, or you could push buttons and make farting noises or stupid stuff like that. And people would buy those apps, and like these app developers would make like millions of dollars because the market was hungry for apps and there just weren't a lot of them. And then next thing you know, there's like 1 million apps out there, and now you can't even hardly make money on an app. You have to spend so much money advertising just to get people to even go download your app because there's so many choices for people these days. Anyway, I kind of suspected a long time ago that YouTube would eventually wind up in the same situation, and I think that it has. Yeah, there's like 100 other channels out there doing retro computer stuff really similar to mine. And while they may not be as big as my channel, it's like death by 1,000 cuts. Like, I'm losing a little bit of views here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there. And, you multiply that by 100 and it's a significant loss. And, there was a time I could release a new video, and if it was a good video, it'd get like 1 million views in like a week's time. And now I'm lucky to get like 200,000 views in a week's time. And and as a result of this, Patreon is also down because, a lot of people are wanting to support the smaller channels. And don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about it. I'm not upset that there are these other channels competing with me, but I'm just kind of matter-of-factly stating this is a reality. Like, people are, wanting to support those channels, which means less money for the 8-Bit Guy on Patreon. So, yeah, so I'm down at about 50% of what I used to be on Patreon like 3 years ago. Right. Okay. So pandemic, market saturation. The third thing is YouTube Shorts. So obviously there's been this big push to kind of do this TikTok thing where, YouTube has these little shorts videos. A lot of people have asked me, why don't I make YouTube Shorts? And I've thought about it, but when I look at the situation, and maybe I'm not seeing it right, and if I'm not, feel free to write a comment explaining to me how I'm wrong on this. But from my perspective, it looks like YouTube Shorts don't generate any revenue, and they don't really translate into subscribers either. So, one of the things that I've noticed is if you ask people like, do you watch YouTube? They'll say, oh yeah, I love YouTube. And they'll say, okay, who are some of your favorite creators? And so they'll list off all the different creators that they watch. And sometimes I've heard of them and sometimes I haven't, but nevertheless, they have their favorite creators they watch. And then you say, hey, do you watch TikTok or YouTube Shorts? And they're like, oh yeah, I love TikTok. Who are your favorite creators on TikTok? They have no idea. They don't really pay attention. Like, creators are not really a thing on the short form videos. You just watch a random video, you scroll to the next, and you don't really generally subscribe to these channels. And So anyway, I feel like I could spend the time making the shorts. I could probably convert some of my older videos into shorts, but I just don't feel like it would. I mean, it may increase my views, but I don't think that it's going to increase my revenue, and I don't think that it's going to increase my subscriber base or in any way affect my long form videos that I have on YouTube. So I don't know. I'm just not seeing a whole lot of benefit for me to move into that. But nevertheless, the shorts are taking views away from long form videos like mine, because sometimes people open YouTube, they got 20 minutes to kill, and they can say, oh, well, gee, I can watch 8-Bit Guy's latest video, or I can watch 20 shorts. And sometimes people just choose to watch the 20 shorts. Okay, anyway, so the fourth thing that has reduced my revenue, and let's not beat around the bush, I don't make as many videos as I used to. In fact, when I go back like 4 years ago, I think I had produced somewhere in the ballpark of 40 videos in a year. And then after that, it was like 20 videos in a year. And I think the last 2 years, I've only made like 16 videos in a year. So it's like maybe one every 3 weeks or something like that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is coming up next. But anyway, so that's, in a nutshell, those are the four primary reasons why my revenue is down. So back to the whole thing about getting a job. Well, that's kind of what I've done. Actually, 2 jobs, really. So, I mean, I kind of saw the writing on the wall 2 years ago and I suspected that YouTube was headed to a situation where creators like me would just simply not be able to support themselves anymore unless they do a lot of sponsorships, which I've already decided long ago that's not a rabbit hole I want to go down. So anyway, for all those people out there, I see sometimes on Reddit or other social media platforms, people, they'll say something like, oh, the 8-Bit Guy's fabulously rich and has millions of dollars and he's milking every dollar out of his YouTube channel and all of that. And I'm like, I sure wish that was true, but it's not. If I'm talking to somebody in person, I'll go ahead and just flat out tell them how much money I make, but I don't generally say it publicly. And the reason is because no matter what number I throw out there and say that I make, you're going to have like 50% of the people saying, wow, that's all he makes. And then the other 50% of the people are going to say, oh my God, he's fabulously wealthy or whatever. And I guess it all just depends on what an individual person considers a lot of money. I would just say that I live what I would consider an upper middle class lifestyle. And that's what I was before I was a YouTuber. And that's what I still am as a YouTuber. So not much has changed in that regard. That being said, I figured a couple of years ago I'm probably going to be out looking for a job here eventually if things didn't improve, and they haven't. So anyway, that brings us to the whole getting a job thing. So that's kind of what I've done. Actually, really more like 2 jobs. And okay, so let's back up for a moment. I'm going to throw a pie chart up on the screen here, and historically, this is kind of where I've spent my time. Obviously, I spent a lot of time on merchandise, way more than most people realize. Obviously, then there's YouTube, the Commander X16, going to conventions, and game development. And I decided, as most of you know, like a year ago or so, to give up the merchandise sales. And the downside is that is another revenue stream for me, but the revenue is extremely disproportionate. Like, in other words, when you look at the pie chart and you see how much time I spend on merchandise, but it ends up being like 10 or 20% of my overall income. So I kind of realized this has just got to go, because I got to make room for something else in my life. The merchandise, yeah, it is an income stream, but it's just not worth the amount of time that it takes. Now, I will point out, I still have a little bit of merchandise left, and I'll continue to sell that until I sell out. I still have some MS-DOS Petsky robots, and I have some Commodore 128 and some Apple IIs, I think, primarily is what I've got left. But I would also mention that the Genesis and Super Nintendo versions are actually still being sold on Texelec's website. So if you missed buying them from me, you can actually still buy them there. He was the one that manufactured them for me to begin with, so there's actually no real difference other than, you're buying it from him instead of me, but it's the same cartridge, same design, everything. The Atari 7800 version is also still available on Atari Age, because again, I never made that to begin with, and that's a third party as well. I'm also still selling like t-shirts and mouse pads and stuff like that on my website, but those are actually now being done by a third party fulfillment center. So I don't really have to deal with that. I don't make very much from it. I make like $1 or $2 every time you buy a t-shirt from me, but I don't have to do any manual labor or have to dedicate a huge amount of space to store that stock. So that's been very helpful. So anyway, but for the most part, like, I don't spend hardly any time on merchandise anymore. In fact, I got a little guilty confession to make for you. I don't even ship merchandise every day anymore. I kind of wait until I have 3 or 4 packages before I ship them. So I only ship like once a week now, where I used to ship, 10, 15 packages a day. And now I'm shipping like 4 or 5 a week. That's kind of what I'm down to. And probably in another 6 months, it'll be 0. Okay, so let's talk about conventions for a moment. So several years ago, I was doing as many as 9 or 10 conventions per year. And I think a lot of people don't understand exactly how much time that takes out of a person's schedule. You're usually looking at a week just to set aside for the convention itself, because you got the traveling, the convention, and the traveling back. But then there's a lot of preparation that goes into a convention, everything from, getting merchandise sales ready to, building up merchandise to bring with you to sell, as well as if I'm going to be doing any kind of presentation, I've got to, script that out and make any illustrations and rehearse it a bunch of times. And so, a convention could easily take 2 or 3 weeks of time. And so anyway, yeah, I'm just not doing those anymore. I'm going to do like 1 or 2 conventions per year from now on. Okay, so you've been looking at this pie chart. This kind of represents how my time has been spent historically, and now I want to show you this one. And so this is kind of what I'm planning 2024's pie chart to look like. Okay, so you can see I'm going to be spending a lot of time at the arcade, which has basically replaced the merchandise section. I'm going to be doing YouTube still, and the Commander X16, and very few conventions. In a nutshell, that's what my time schedule is going to look like for the coming year. Now you're probably wondering, well, what is this arcade thing? So this is actually kind of the big secret. This has actually been in the planning for a couple of years now, and I'll tell you kind of where it started. If you remember the video I did about 2 years ago, where I made a Petsky Robots arcade machine, and then we took it to an arcade called the Electric Starship. And it's actually not there anymore. Actually, it's been moved around to a couple of different arcades in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, but I actually have it back now. It's back in storage. When we met Mike Woods, the owner of the Electric Starship, my brother and I talked to him a lot, and we became friends with him, and we eventually decided to partner with him on opening a new location. The new location will be about 10 miles away in the city of Bedford, Texas, and we have been working on this for about 2 years. And an interesting thing, if you remember the little Moonbase tabletop cocktail table arcade machine restoration that I did, that was actually part of one of the first batches of arcades that we bought. And of course, all of them needed restoration work. And the Moonbase was unfortunately one of the more difficult ones because, well, you saw the video, some of the things that we ran into. But yeah, we've been buying up all kinds of vintage arcade machines and restoring them. And I'd love to have made videos about the restorations, because some of these have been wild. Like, we open these things up and we're like, whoa, what was someone thinking? Because it seems like every one of these that we pick up, I mean, even if they technically work, they need all kinds of cosmetic repairs. And then you open up the back and there's just like this spaghetti of wiring from like the 14 different people that have tried to repair or modify the game over the last 40 years. And so we got to rip all that out, restore everything, return it back to its factory. I say return it back to factory. We are like doing a little bit of modernization to them. Like we're replacing the power supplies with modern switching power supplies. We're replacing the like marquee lights from fluorescent to, or in some cases incandescent, to LED based marquee lights and stuff like that, so that they're a little bit more maintenance free. Also setting them all to free play mode, and if they don't have a free play mode, adding a free play button, things like that. But yeah, we've got, 80 or 90 actually completely restored now and ready to go. And we just now got, after lots and lots of bureaucracy, finally have a location. And we've got all the permits and everything lined up, and we're about to start build out of the interior. Right now, it's just kind of an empty shell of a building. There's not a lot to see at the moment, but over the next few months, we'll be building out the interior. And I'm going to be documenting all of that, and we'll be producing a video showing the basically, like a 20-minute construction video of the arcade from beginning to end, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to end up. So anyway, so that's where I'm going to be spending a lot of my time in 2024, is just helping to run the arcade, and I've got a lot of great ideas for the arcade. For example, I want to have a little corner with some vintage computers set up, like some Commodores and Apples, Ataris, and stuff like that. And I've got some great ideas for some new arcades. And, like, I know we did the Pesky Robots one, but Pesky Robots, it doesn't convert very well to an arcade environment because of the nature of the game. But I've got some ideas for some games I want to write, and I'll probably be using the Commander X16 as the motherboard for these arcades. For some games that I think will be really cool, like people would walk by in an arcade and see that and go, oh, hey, that looks fun. So I'll probably do some videos on building those as well. Okay, so anyway, in a nutshell, the arcade is one of the jobs that I'm going to have. And of course, I've actually sunk a lot of money into that as well. So I do hope that I will earn some back from it, because I could certainly use it right about now. But anyway, the other thing that I'm, consider my job is the Commander X16 thing. We actually have formed an LLC for that, and there's actually 4 people that are part of the Commander Computers LLC. And we have, let's just say, grand plans for where we're planning to take this platform over the next few years. And hopefully, I haven't made a dime on the X16 so far. Actually, I'm still in the red on it, but hopefully the plan is, if things go as well as we hope, then that should be a third income. So I would have YouTube, the arcade, and the X16. And hopefully I can still make a living between the 3 of those. So those are kind of my jobs for 2024 and beyond. So anyway, you're probably wondering, well, what kind of videos am I going to be making in 2024? And that is going to change a little bit too. And I wanted to talk about that. So I will tell you right now, I have a few videos that are kind of in the works. The one that you'll probably see next is one on the Mega 65. I'm still in the process of editing that one up, but it's mostly filmed. The next thing you'll probably see is either you'll probably see the Martin Galway's C128. For those that don't know, Martin Galway was a famous musician in the Commodore and even the Sinclair era of games, and he actually met up with me in Austin a few weeks ago and gave me his original Commodore 128 that he did a lot of the music composition on, and it's broken, and he wants me to fix it up for him, and I'm going to do a video about that. Then I'm going to do another solar video, probably in February or March or sometime in there, and it's going to be like a wintertime power outage test. But I've got some new equipment, should make it more interesting. So none of those are, how should we put it? None of those are particularly on focus with what I'm planning for most of 2024. So I spent a lot of time thinking. A few months back, I'm like, look, I do have all these 100 channels competing with me. And so I was like, what kind of videos do I do best? And I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see. I do restoration videos, but I'm like, they all do those too. In fact, some of these people are doing better restoration videos than I ever did. So I don't really even, and I kind of feel like I've been there, done that. And I think, although a lot of my viewers will say, those are my favorite videos, the reality is I just can't see like how to perpetuate that. Like, how many times do people want to see me restore an old computer? I mean, it just kind of gets repetitive. So, so I think I'm going to move on from restorations. You probably won't see too many more of those on my channel. And I got to thinking about it, like, the thing that I do best, in my opinion, is the history documentary type videos, and like the recent one I did with the Apple II, for example. And so I'm going to concentrate most of my video efforts in 2024 on finishing up a lot of the documentary videos on some of the other Apple products, like the Apple III, the Apple II GS, the Atari 800 and 400 and 800 XL, and all those. I want to do that. The Texas Instruments computers, I want to do those. And just a handful of other ones too that people have always been asking me, when are you going to do a documentary on this? Well, this will probably be the year, because I'm going to try to focus on just documentary videos this year, and hopefully those will do well, and I hope you'll like them. But that's probably going to be the bulk of my videos. But you can also expect to see some arcade-related videos because, like I said, I got some great projects I want to do for the arcade, and I think some of those will translate really well into videos. So you'll probably see some of that. And you're going to see some X16 related videos. Now, I'm not going to spam my whole channel with X16 videos like some people say that I am, but you'll probably see like 2 or 3 X16 related videos over the course of a year. And, by the way, I'm just going to rant about something that kind of bothers me. And I don't know why this is, but when I make a video on one of my personal projects, whether it be a game development or the X16 or, solar or something like that, I always have all these people in the comment section complaining, like, why I made a video on this or that or whatever. Now, on the flip side of that, I often have people telling me those are some of their favorite videos. But the thing I don't understand, though, is why people have to moan and groan about it so much. I mean, I'm going to give you a great example. So, I watch LGR like many of you probably do, but I don't like his Sims videos, as an example. I just really don't care anything about them. And so when I see LGR has posted a video on The Sims, I'm just like, oh, he's posted a Sims video. I'm just like, delete, I delete the email and I move on. I just don't go watch it. I don't feel the need to jump on LGR's channel and complain to him, why are you making another one of these Sims videos? I don't like these. I just don't watch them. And I wish more people could take that attitude with the videos that I make that they don't like. Just don't watch it. If you don't like my solar videos, don't watch them, Okay, anyway, rant over. Yeah, there was only one more thing I wanted to talk about, actually, which was sponsorships. Now, historically, I've done no sponsorships on my channel. Kind of wish I had now, actually, because then I could have some of that money. So those millions of dollars in the bank that people think that I've got, I could probably have that. But no, historically I don't do sponsorships, but I have done EcoFlow and PCBWay, and I've only done both of those in contexts where it applies to the video. And for the moment, that's what I plan to continue doing. Although PCBWay, just to be clear, they've never actually given me any. I've never received any money from PCBWay. What they have done is given me discounts on Commander X16 boards. So in a way, like the price of the X16 board is $350. So if they hadn't given me all those discounts, it might be like 360 or something like that. So in a way, that savings is actually being passed on to the consumer of the X16. But yeah, I've never seen a dime of money from PCBWay. So EcoFlow is a similar example. So I've only done videos for them if it was a relevant thing to the video that I was doing. In fact, in the past, all of the stuff that I have was stuff I was going to have bought anyway. And I think I made that pretty clear in the videos. However, they did send me some stuff, which you're going to see in an upcoming video, that's really expensive. And I would not have bought. Not because it's a bad product or anything like that, just because I'm too cheap. And because I'm not that millionaire that some of those people out on Reddit think that I am. So I would not have bought these products simply because I couldn't afford them. But nevertheless, they have sent me some really expensive stuff. And I will be doing a video on that soon. But again, they're not like really paying me money or anything like that. But I am getting some really cool stuff from them as a result. Anyway, in a nutshell, I'm not planning to do any sponsorships where I just have some random company I'm giving a shout out to at the beginning of a video that has nothing to do with the video. So I still don't want to do that. And as long as I can afford to pay the bills and keep the lights on around here, then I will continue to not do that. But anyway, I think that about wraps it up. So for all of y'all that stuck around to the end, thank you very much for watching, and thank you for supporting my channel, even if it's just a subscription or a like or something like that. And look forward to seeing what you think about my new videos in 2024.